I thought it was. According to AARP, which supports aging adults, the average benefit was about $92 a month. But Thompson says the money meant to help with inflation is falling flat as the cost of goods and services rises. Lights, water bill, food. According to the Social Security Administration, benefits are supposed to act as a supplemental income.
Because we have a ton of news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI, and SSDI. Continue watching this video because you don't want to miss out on it. Breaking news, several groups are urging that Congress consider key provisions, including the $80 billion funding boost to the IRS. It could lead to more funding for the Social Security Administration, and many agree this is important as millions of older adults are living below the poverty line. And now, according to the IRS, advocates on behalf of regular taxpayers have stated that $80 billion from funding boosting for the agency passed last year is skewed too much toward enforcement and audits. The office added that it is not enough toward helping people file their taxes. Of the funding provided to Congress over the next decade as part of Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. And the second biggest chunk of $25 billion is going toward general operations support. Only $3 billion going to taxpayer services, which is the segment meant to help the IRS answer questions over the phone and deliver more. Only about $4.8 billion being given to the IRS to update its technology, famously out of date, ahead of a more detailed breakdown of the allotments that Janet Yellen will be coming in the next few weeks. The Taxpayer Advocate Group is saying that these numbers don't make sense for families and businesses. And the IRS is even allocating the funds in a manner that does not address the needs of the taxpayers, including individuals, families, and businesses. Now, this priority is now to improve taxpayer service, particularly after the struggles of the last few years. And to do that, the IRS needs more funding and taxpayer services. The taxpayer advocate may make recommendations into Congress, but cannot force Congress to change policy, because Republicans have been up in arms about funding and boosting the IRS, as well as the relatively small amount reserved for taxpayer services. The Senate Finance Committee ranking member has told everybody that only $3 billion, under the 4% of the IRS funding, will be dedicated to taxpayer services, given Americans have long dealt with the IRS service. The small funding for the IRS customer service is indefensible, and while it's important to collect more of the money that's owed to the government, the remarks made this week by the Taxpayer Advocate Group indicate that the priority needs to be balanced with an acceptable level of service to tax filers. In January, one of the cost of living adjustments to Social Security in the program's history went into effect, with a 8.7% increase in monthly checks sent that the beneficiaries are on average about 150% more than they were in 2022. And though the extra money was solely needed to help seniors help pay for necessities during record high inflation, it may not be enough, because adding to that time during critical tax time is the fact that the COLAs have historically never been applied to adjusting the threshold which determines if Social Security beneficiaries will need to pay more. With more money from the COLAs and as more seniors look for part-time work to make ends meet, more people are tipping over the threshold requirement for paying the government. That's because up to 85% of Social Security can be taxed depending upon how much a beneficiary can make in a provisionary income, their wages and their assets. For individuals with provisionary income above $25,000, and up to 50% of Social Security is taxed. So hopefully people can get the stimulus they need. So yes, everybody, President Biden definitely should do more for the American people and send out stimulus checks. If you guys agree with me, tell me in the comments down below. Do you think that President Biden will send out stimulus payments before the end of the year?
So we're here today to talk about what everybody's talking about, and that is record high gas prices. And whether you're here in Washington, D.C., or whether you are up north in Alaska, everyone is seeing the impact. For 9 days now, we have seen the national average of our gas prices above the highest ever levels.
We have a ton of good news about the fourth stimulus check, Social Security benefits, SSI, and SSDI. Continue watching this video because you don't want to miss out on this. State governments want to allocate unused crisis relief money towards a new stimulus plan. This bill will provide Americans with a stimulus check worth up to $2,000. Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf is once again calling on state lawmakers to approve his plan to give the people of Pennsylvania a check using federal crisis relief dollars. Governor Wolf says he wants to use $500 million of the $2.2 billion of unspent federal crisis money to give people in Pennsylvania a one-time state stimulus check of up to $2,000. But the former president and President Biden Some states are trying to step up where Congress failed. In Vermont, Republican governor and a Democratic state legislature signed off on a $1,000 tax credit for every child 5 and under. Phil Scott, the state's Republican governor, had initially proposed a wider set of tax cuts. In a statement, Governor Scott said it would have helped a broader cross-section of taxpayers, but that this bill is a step in the right direction. Everybody, what are your thoughts on President Biden so far? So it is here. Lawmakers have approved a new financial relief program. These checks will be worth at least $300. And now new extra stimulus cash will be making its way to thousands of Americans in the form of $300 direct payments as soon as this summer. Hawaii's governor first proposed a tax refund in his 2022 State of the State address. The governor signed it into law this week. He told reporters at the start of 2022, "We made a commitment to support programs and policies that would help our residents get back on their feet." Both bills represent a collaborative effort to bring the people of Hawaii some relief as we continue to recover from a 2-year crisis. So in order to be eligible for a tax refund under this legislation, you have to earn less than $100,000 a year. And for those whose earnings are above those thresholds, you will receive $100. The tax rebate package will benefit taxpayers and dependents who filed in the state, and is expected to cost the state about $250 million. That means an eligible family of 4 could earn up to $1,200 in state funds. And according to the Department of Taxation, refunds are due to start rolling out in the last week of August. The measure also commits $500 million to Hawaii's rainy day fund and prepays $300 million for retirement liabilities. The second bill passed increases the state's minimum wage for the first time since 2018, from $10 an hour to $12 an hour starting October, and it will increase to $14 an hour in 2024, $16 an hour in 2026, and then $18 an hour in 2028. Now, rebates will continue for hundreds of thousands of people in New Mexico. However, unlike the first 2 rounds of stimulus, in May and June, the last anticipated effort from July have some strings attached. Specifically, the upcoming rebates have an income threshold, meaning those who made over a certain amount of money in the 2021 calendar year will not be eligible. The latest tax rebate checks are eligible for New Mexico residents who filed their 2021 taxes. As mentioned, there's an income threshold tied to these rebates, which is different for both single filers and joint filers. According to the New Mexico Tax and Revenue Department, the rebates should be processing during the first full week of July, or next week, and Moore says it will take the full month for the rebates to get out to eligible taxpayers. So for many people, you may not receive a payment for several weeks. As for how the payments will be rolled out, well, the state will pay July rebates automatically, via direct deposit or a paper check. Checks will be sent to those who don't have a direct deposit bank information on file with the state. And the state expects to print about 210,000 paper checks. So in printing 14,000 checks per day, the process is expected to take several weeks to complete. By comparison, the state says it expects to distribute about 500,000 payments via direct deposit.
Thank you very much, and I thank the gentleman. The gentlewoman from North Carolina, Ms. Adams, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you,